Yeah, yeah. So I have contacts now, and the reason I did, I wore them for 15 years or longer, and in 2000 or so, I decided that I just quit wearing them, and that was a terrible time because I work in food production. You go in hot and cold areas, and of course, also living in Alabama, where you get out of your car and your glasses fog up. So after 15
Yep.
years of that, I was at the eye doctor this week. He goes, "Do you want to consider contacts?" I was like, "Sure, sure, sure, sure." So he informed me that I'm an old dude now, and I can't wear the same contact or similar contact in both eyes. I have to wear one eye is for distance and mid, and one eye is for up close and sort of mid. And what that does is totally throws you into a tornado whirlwind in your mind because your brain's fighting itself. Hey, Eric, your brain
Yeah,
is.
I've always had two
Have
different
you?
ones.
And my over the past week, my eyes have gotten somewhat used to it. But I notice that, like if I'm reading an iPad or a book or up close to a computer, my eyes start fighting again for which one's in command. But I'll get there. I'll get there. When I'm doing knives, I throw on the glasses so I can see, what I'm doing, and we're all better for that. We're all better for that.
I used to only wear the contacts. The only reason I went to contacts for the longest time was in racing, taking the helmet on and off with glasses is a royal pain. Yeah. And so I went to contacts for the longest time, but I've got different astigmatisms in each eye. And so each one was different. And then like what you're talking about, where you have one that's kind of like out of position and blurry, that would happen to me too. And I'd be like in the race car driving, like trying to fix my contacts. And so it's like, am I really like, is this really more convenient or is it more inconvenient? And ever since I if I'm driving, I'll wear, like, if I'm racing, wearing a helmet, I'll wear contacts. If I am just doing anything else, I'll wear glasses.
That doesn't sound fun at all, especially in a race car. How fast did you drive?
I did road course stuff. So like, top speed was like low in comparison to like circle track stuff, but like 140, 145, something like that.
It's still fast enough to break your finger.
Yeah, I hit the wall in the air at Laguna Seca one time. I had brake failure going into the corkscrew. Did a 180-degree spin around in midair and caught the driver's side door on the outside tire wall about 2 feet off the ground. That was pretty.
Well, you know what they say. If your brakes fail, look for a wall.
I found it.
3, 2, 1, 0.
You're listening to the Knives Templars.
I got a piece off of the wagon that Sam Houston used to take JFK to the moon.
Pinto sauce. I like that. Pinto sauce.
Pinto sauce. You're tuned in to the Knives Templars podcast. Featuring Jason Fry.
Yeah, I've been just been doing what we do.
Long time listener, first time caller. Eric T.R.E. Rivers.
Holy crap, I built something.
Mark Vasallo.
There would be a lot of places I would launch myself to.
Chip Carlisle. We've had a raccoon come through the screen door down in the family room.
I was a mean kid.
And Josh Ferran. And now, broadcasting across planet Earth, it is the Knives Templars, coming to you live from Porkhouse Studios right here in Hartselle, Alabama, and scattered across the country. We are on demand, and it's time to sit back and enjoy another show on the KnivesTemplars.com. Well, here we are again, Season 7. And they said we wouldn't make it to Season 7, Episode 61, but here we are. All right. This is Chip Carlisle, host of the Knives Templars podcast, with my additional host I've got with me tonight, Mark VMAX Vasallo, Josh Ferran, and Eric Rivers from the Rivers Experience. Man, I tell you what, one thing I want to let you know tonight, guys, this episode is brought to you by Carolina Chip Sanding Juice. It's a special formulation that has been concocted in the laboratories of Shegman Niver, and it has been known to not decrease sanding time of knives, especially hardened steel, when you're trying to sand it out, but to make it seem much more enjoyable. You tend to want to listen to KC and the Sunshine Band and get your boogie on while you're shaking your rear end and sanding blades. Hey, look at ShegmanNiver.com or go to knife-maker.com and pick out your bottle of sanding juice from Carolina Chip. That's all I got to say. Good night. So, you guys, welcome to the show. Have y'all considered any sanding juice?
Is that an actual thing that
I
exists?
frequently partake.
Well, is pinto sauce an actual thing that exists? I would say yes. Sanding juice does exist. But it's not for sale. But we are willing to share the recipe. The recipe is 2 parts Patron. That's tequila, my friends. 1 part triple sec, a good brand. And a 1/2 part lime juice. Salt if you like, but it's just good over ice. Sanding juice by Carolina Chip.
You know, it's a better mixture.
What's that?
Is if you use 2 parts Patron.
Yeah. I'm listening.
No, that's it.
Oh, just 2 parts Patron. yes. That's what typically that is what we call, sometimes how you have to do an injection of something to get it going, and then you start a drip.
Yes.
You start a drip
right.
afterwards. So I've been known to do a 1 part of Patron and then go into the sanding juice drip. But I don't want to end up naked in the driveway forging knives in the full moon like Otis here and his pinto sauce. Try to keep it keep it in style, guys. Welcome to episode 661. VMAX, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Missed last episode, so I'm excited.
We're so glad you're here. The beard's looking good, as we said, and I don't want to hear. I don't hear you're ever going to cut it off. Got your Alabama Knife Makers Guild shirt on there tonight.
I do.
Looking good. You need to come up to the July meeting. I'll finally be back at one, Josh, and that brings me to Josh Ferran. Josh, how you doing tonight?
Likely story.
I know. Everything's just
doing good.
I've just had issues. How have you been?
Doing all right. We had an interesting week. Wife had some medical procedures done, and she's been recovering from that this week. And so I didn't go traveling for work this week. I was able to stay home and get a lot of that stuff done. And fired up the forge the other day for the first time, and worked on 2 knives, and just about got those finished forged and ready to. Hopefully this weekend, finish forging those out and get them heat treated and all of that good stuff. One of them is a Oroshigane blade where I remelted the steel, right. And so got that billet forged up real nice, and started forging the shape of the blade, and hopefully get that thing wrapped up, and then destroy my hopes and dreams in the water quench. That'll be super exciting.
Did you sell the knife that I started marketing for you?
Yeah, no, not yet. I got a lot of interest. I've got one collector that said, if you have it in August, I'll grab it.
All right.
That it hasn't happened.
You're familiar with bird dog fees?
Well, if they say chip cinch,
there you go.
I might do something like help you weld up a press.
Buy me a cheeseburger or something like that. So that's all good. That's all good. Eric, the hair is grown back enough. You've pulled it back. You're looking rather stylish there tonight. The folks can't see it, but for you guys that don't know, not enough hair to do a man bun, but enough hair to pull it back and look mighty cool. So what's going on, Eric? I have a feeling that there's a lot of sweat in that hair today.
There's a ton of sweat in this hair. It was hot at work for one, prior to having to fix AC stuff whenever I got home.
That's
I've been
right.
working on it for the last 2 days, And but yeah, where I'm at in the stores, most of my time spent there is in the back room or the warehouse area,
Right. Right.
and there's no AC back there. So typically it's like 115 degrees in those areas. And
Wow.
so the 2 days that I've been working, so yesterday and today, um, they have been just like nuts. And today was pretty crazy because I was just doing uh, taking stuff from pallets and putting them where they all need to go, and then
Right.
merchandising. So I was in the back room for about 6 hours today,
So what are you down to
and
about 150 pounds now?
I'm getting there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It
Hey, people have to pay for that
yeah.
to get that kind of work out.
It's been interesting, but it's been nice being able to lose weight and get paid to do it. So that's always a good thing. But
Not a bad
it's
gig.
been a good week though. I've got stuff knocked out the house. This is my first week of actually having 2 days off. So since before Blade Show,
Right.
and I
Wow.
got the shop all set up for projects, and started working on Tuesday's video, and tomorrow we're doing a live stream, and we got all kinds of stuff going on over here.
Busy, busy, busy as always at your house, that's for sure. So what's going on with the air conditioner? What did you figure out?
So our
I'm going capacitor.
might as well be the
Oh, one
AC
the
condenser
capacitor.
that's on the outside. The AC
Yeah.
condenser that's on the outside. The
Right.
fan motor went out. So the actual
Uh,
thing that pulls the air through the condenser
yeah.
to help the Freon cool or dissipate heat, it wasn't working. So I have my shop fan ghetto rigged. I took the shop fan apart, modified it, and put it inside the thing so that it would pull air and pump it out like the fan that goes in it. And the motor for the replacement motor that comes in tomorrow evening.
Ah.
So I'll probably have that in on Sunday. But right now I've got like 2 window units and a portable AC unit. So I've been installing all of that
Oh
stuff,
man.
and it's
And tell the listeners how hot it's been in Texas.
so the real feel or the heat index has been 115 plus
Right.
for the last week.
Yeah,
So it's been brutal.
Wichita Falls, it's either minus 80 degrees or plus 130 degrees Fahrenheit, right?
Yeah, because we're right at the edge of the plains. So
Yeah.
where the plains come, and then directly after us, it starts falling off towards the ocean. And so where we're at, it's just like just the extremes of what happens
Yeah.
all happen at our little area. We could be freezing, -20. We could be flooding. We could be, we could have a heat wave that breaks records.
Yeah.
We could, it's insane. Like this one area takes all of it. We got tornadoes. We could get hit by the tailwinds of hurricanes. Like it's nuts.
Well, I will tell you, the house going up next door to me is going up for sale in the next 6 months. So I'm just telling you, it's there. You could get away from all of that. Other than you'd be moving back to most of that in North Alabama, as Josh will agree. We're not quite minus 30, but we got down to -6 or 7 last year. And of course, it's hot and humid here. And they do call North Alabama the land of the sick head, is what the Indians used to call it. So I don't know if that means we're all mental or if we are all have hay fever, but I think it's probably a mix of both. If you talk to Josh Howard, you would probably think it's all mental. If you talk to me, it's probably more hay fever. So whiskey.
Whiskey.
Say it.
Oh,
There we go. I love it. I love it. I love it.
H
So
before the W.
there you go. Oh, whiskey. So I past couple weeks I got my, you guys saw I got my press in, and now I've decided I'm going to become a professional welder and start making dies for it. So I'm going to buy a welder tomorrow. My wife, I usually just ask for forgiveness. I've quit asking for permission. I just started asking for forgiveness after I spend this money. And so I'm going to pick that up, and I've got to figure out how to cut that steel. So I'm probably going to go down to Josh's and have him cut the steel for me, and then line it up underneath my breast.
Get you one of them cold cut saws, man. Those Evolutions. That's what I've
How
got.
How much do I have to spend on that?
They're not expensive either. The blades are, but the saw itself, it comes with the blade. So like you're pretty much buying the blade and getting a saw.
Yeah, but it's probably cheaper to drive to your house and get the steel cut and then drive back up to the house and weld it together. So I don't know.
I'm gonna have to charge you for the blade.
You could, and I would happily pay it. Just because, you're a good guy. But I will tell you, I'm surprised that Yildiz has not come out with something like that yet, because the guy's got every tool on the market. If you go to tr-maker.com, you'll find out they offer high quality and fast service from Istanbul, Turkey to every country in the world. You need to check out their line of knife making tools to make your job easier and more precise so that you can get the job done. I will tell you can't do without their products once you discover them. Matter of fact, today, when I was sanding out the knife I'm holding up for you guys, not the listeners, because they can't see it, he has his sanding tool that clamps in the paper. And when you clamp it in, you get this perfect 90-degree edge. And while changing that out often when you're doing your bulk sanding can get time consuming, when you're getting into that fine sanding and starting to pull things and need that 90-degree edge and need that really flat surface, man, I discovered that is the perfect tool. So go out and check out his sanding tool. You just put the paper in, you slide it into both sides, you drop the little cylinders down, they click into place, and it pulls it tight. Go check that out. How was that for a segue?
No, it's good.
Pretty
segue.
Good.
It was pretty good. It was the best. It was the best. We're getting good at this. We are at episode 61. Episode 61.
It was the best.
So, guys,
I wouldn't say it was the best, but it was the best.
It was the best. Hey, I will tell you one thing I determined today. I only worked for a couple hours on knives this evening, but I will tell you that I've determined what makes a really good knife maker. And I'm not saying I'm the best knife maker by any means. Please don't take that as any level of cockiness. Is that when I was looking around my Ricasso, and I had this tiny, tiny, tiny little sanding line and almost a little gouge in there, and realized that, you know what? Somebody will see this, and it'll probably be somebody I'm having judge a knife or look at the knife, kind of like at Batson's or at Blade Show or Guild, whatever, in the future. I'm like, there's so many people that just give up, and just say, well, what's good enough? How many knives have we seen posted online where they're beautiful knives? Somebody gave up on that particular scratch or that low spot in the knife. They didn't hit it with a marker so they could eventually screw it out or sand it out, screw it out, sand it out. And I sat there with that piece of, I think, 400 grit sandpaper for 45 minutes, just till that thing finally went away. And nobody will ever know I did that. I will tell you, brought to you by Sanding Juice. It made it much easier, but and a little Kid Rock, but I have finally determined that not giving up on getting rid of the scratches, because we know they'll all go away, is what makes a better knife maker.
Yep, and I'll tell you, you'll have a lot of people that'll hide those scratches in a stone wash, or they'll hide those scratches in a high polished buffed blade. A lot of people don't realize that you'll see some of these high polished blades on Instagram or on, like someone's little shorts or something like that. But
Right.
if you hold those blades in like this up to your eyes, a lot of the times you could see the grinding lines in there. They just buff it so crazy that it just messes with your eyes, and it looks like it's smooth. But some of these guys, they're just hiding it in a mirror polish.
It's there. It's there if you don't take the time to get it out. I will say this. I looked at a lot of blades at Blade Show, a lot of good makers. And there's makers of all skill sets there. It's amazing the number of dips and scratches and stuff that people bring and put up for sale. And I'm not against it. I mean, heck, sometimes I've often said a scratch makes it look like a handmade knife. The imperfections make it look like a handmade knife. But I think as we progress in our craft and our skill set, those things tend to disappear as we strive for perfection. Matter of fact, VMAX, I saw those cleavers, those Siberian cleavers. Is it Siberian or Bavarian or Polish or Scandinavian or
Serbian.
Russian or Alaskan
Serbian cleavers?
Brazil,
I'm sure they use them everywhere.
Okay, what did you call them though?
I called them
Serbian cleavers. Your finish on that was beautiful, and I could see that you had taken a long time to get those sanding lines lined up, your grind line lined up, and your handles were beautiful. Your matter of fact, the great Kyle Daly, who is known to do some beautiful file work on his handles, actually complimented how beautiful yours were, and that's a testament to what you're doing as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'll tell. Can't remember if I told the story on the last time I was on the podcast on those though. But again, I think it's a testament to what you just said. Is that hey, if you see something wrong, you just can't let it go. And that's where I feel too. So unfortunately, I was doing the handles, that handle work. I mean, not the spine work, but finishing up the ironwood on there. And, I was letting it soak in, some oil, and I was going to buff it out. Well, it started raining, and I didn't get out to the shop for like 2 days. So when I came and unwrapped the knives, I had found that, apparently I left them wrapped too long and they were all pitted. And so I had the opportunity to get them to sand them out again with the scales all glued up. And so that took, it was the hardest part was getting close enough to the scales to make it look like it was sanded under the scale, right? And so it just took a long time to resand those things out. But lesson learned, that will not happen again.
That's always hard.
Yeah, whenever
sanding up the scales like that, it's super.
Yeah, I keep what is the brand of gun oil I use? I keep several bottles of gun oil around just because.
Yeah, the water-based gun.
No, yes. that's what we shipped. We shipped a case of that to you. That's why you got the pitting.
No, I know. I shouldn't have used it.
Yeah. But yes, after I quit using water-based gun oil or gun lube, you guys will know the name of it. You can buy it at most stores and most gun stores, but it's it comes in a little brown bottle. But I buy that, and every time I walk out of my shop, I go ahead and lay a coat of oil on my blades, and wrap them up in a little, what do you call these cloth, microfiber cloth, and stick them in something just so they're not exposed, and I don't have to deal with that.
Hops gun oil.
Hops, yeah, that's it. And I learned that from things like you talked about, getting some pitting or this, that, and the other in between, and just creating additional steps or things that just kind of took away from what you were wanting to do. So, man, it's a journey we're on, is it not?
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
Hey, I want to call out some makers this week. I have seen Tom Rapp, who's with the Alabama Forge. What's our group called again? VMAX, was it on your shirt there?
The Knife
There
Maker
you
Skill.
go. There you go. There you go. I wanted to call out Tom Rapp. Guys made a beautiful chopper. He will be over at Helen Keller's birthplace tomorrow, I do believe. I don't know if he'll be competing with his chopper, but he's got into doing that. He's made some skinners here recently. Tom, you're doing a great job. Love watching you grow, man. Additionally, Big Hand Dave, he's not with us tonight because he's going to be at Helen Keller's tomorrow at the Helen Keller home in Alabama. over near Tuscaloosa area, not Tuscaloosa, over near Muscle Shoals area, and he will be competing in blade sports. If I'm not mistaken, is the great Josh Ferran going to be there as well?
I don't know if I am or not yet. It just kind of depends on how tomorrow goes, especially with the wife's situation, recovering from all of the stuff she's been through this week. Would probably end up more likely than not staying home, but I'll probably have to catch the next one, unfortunately. But I'd much rather make sure my wife's taken care of.
Oh, you know what?
Good answer.
That is not only a good answer, that's a husband answer. That's very good. That's very good. I can't think of a guy on this show that wouldn't do that. So, by all means.
All right, babe, you can go sit down. I said what you told me to. Please don't hurt me.
Now get me a beer. Just throw it from downstairs up here. So anyway, I look forward to meeting your wife. I missed her by a little bit at Blade Show and got there a little late when she was at the table. So I look forward to hearing her say whiskey.
Yeah, she's not cultured as such.
I see. You know, speaking of cultured, I've been wanting to go over to Norway for quite some time to visit some friends, and actually, there's Johan Fagerland lives in Sweden, just across the Norwegian border over from Oslo, and I wanted to go over and visit his shop and do some stuff over there. So now here I am at the end of summer. I'm not going in fall; it'll get cold in winter, so maybe it'll be next spring. But eventually, I'm going. But a friend of mine,
great maker.
Oh, yes, he's a wonderful maker. He was the only true Viking in the Viking Challenge, was he not?
Yep.
But wonderful maker. And I will meet my brother, Brodre, someday. And but my friend Dean Glikos is a Greek guy, lives down in Florida, a good friend of mine. He's going to be my, what do you call your daughter-in-law's uncle? My uncle-in-law? I don't know. He'll be something like that. But we've hit it off for several years and haven't met yet. But he, and we talk all the time. He went to England and made his way over to Norway for a little tour around there this week with his family. Got back to England and he's coming home now. But without even realizing it, he hit the exact towns where my 4 friends live in Norway and Sweden, and it just blew my mind. And I didn't, because of the time difference. And he was on a tour. He was like there 12 hours before I found out, and then on his way to the next place. So I didn't think about, hey, where are you going next? But all my Norwegian friends, he could have taken pictures with their knives that I sent them. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I wish I'd jumped on that trip. I don't know why that's important to me. It is.
Hey, can you stop the bus right here? I need to go take a picture with a knife. Exactly. I know it's a tour. Don't worry about it. I just give me about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's like Chip's early knives. It's like my first 4 or 5, 6 knives. So all my first knives all went to Norway. So I become an international knife maker. Rare.
There you go.
Rare. Yeah. So are you guys international knife makers?
Several times over.
All right. Josh,
I am not.
Josh, yet. International knife maker? Canada counts?
Nope.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Nope. Never sent anything across the border.
I've Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, Belgium.
Yeah,
England, Germany.
I've got a friend in England that she's a backpacker, and with my backpacking stuff I've done in the past, as you guys know, I'm more of a cot guy now. It's from Blade Show. But for my backpacking days in the past, she and I always shared photos and everything. Wonderful, wonderful lady. She was a nurse.
Oh, wait a minute. I have shipped stuff out of the country. I shipped some stuff out of Alabama. So I guess you could say I'm an international knife maker now.
Where'd you send? Where did it go to?
Outside of Alabama.
Yeah, outside of Alabama. I don't know where. I don't know what the name of these other countries are, but by golly,
you can't claim that.
It took it like a week.
You can't claim that because you're Detroit, buddy. Detroit. My name is Josh Ferran. Yeah.
Did you send her one of your little bitty
No,
Big full size knives.
I sent her.
Little bitty three fingers.
I sent her stickers, and I had a hiking group. After when COVID hit, I quit doing it because the Forest Service said we couldn't. They wouldn't support us because it was insured and stuff. That I took people out on hikes, like 12, 15-mile hikes, and so it all kind of died at that point. But I sent her those stickers as well. But in England, you can't ship knives to them because they're so regulated because everybody walks around stabbing each other in England because they have no guns.
Yeah, you can send knives to England. You just have to fully explain what it is in the customs. So
Yeah.
you can't say that you're shipping them a tool. You can't say that you're shipping them a gardening thing. You have to actually go in and select that it is this is something from the website side of things. You have to actually go in and put the code in for what it is, because there's a code for
Gotcha.
full tang high carbon steel knife with natural wood handle. There's one for full tang high carbon knife with composite handle. There's one for folding knives with
Have you
high
sent-
carbon stainless.
So you've sent knives to England?
I've sent them to Belgium, which has even stricter.
Yeah, but
laws.
have you sent them to
And I sent-
England?
Yes. Oh yeah. And
good.
Not just England, but Belgium has stricter laws. And I sent over a 15-inch blade buoy to a place where they're not even allowed to carry butter knives on the street.
Right. So
knives.
when I looked this up a few years ago, it just didn't seem like it was possible to do, and the knife would end up getting confiscated and destroyed, or they would send it back and send the FBI to me.
You just can't do how whenever you go to the post office and you fill it out on the customs forms and you write in there knife or tool or whatever, you could say wood, steel, knife. You can't do that. You have to have the actual customs code for that specific thing is, and they'll accept it.
I made $100 mistake to Norway one time a few years ago. I put camping tool and it came back, and then they charged me, and it was another $100 to put knife.
You're lucky they didn't just keep it, because they have the right to just confiscate it.
Right. It went as far as Miami, and then it came back, and it came back because of inappropriate description.
They scanned it with their whatever the
Krypton
X-ray machine
Krypton
thing
X-ray.
or whatever.
Yeah.
They really, those things are pretty fancy nowadays. Nowadays they can actually take it and spin it all 3D and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's how my Warhammer head didn't make it through TSA. They were like, this thing right here, this big black Warhammer head looking thing, you can't have that in your backpack.
So would you rather spend, here we go, question of the night. Would you rather spend 2 months making 20 knives with sanding scratches occasionally in it, not perfect, not perfect on the on your grind as far as symmetry on both sides, going down to a nice point on the end that matches up on both sides, and a few sanding scratches in or maybe even a burnt pin. Those things don't have to exist in every one, some better or worse. Would you rather do that and sell every knife for $400, or would you rather spend 2 months making a perfect knife?
So
it depends if you're making your living for that.
I'm gonna throw out one name.
If you need to buy food,
one name. That proves that you can do more knives and not spend that much time, and that is Odisir Pinto. He makes his knives typically take him at
1
most
week.
2 weeks. At most 2 weeks. If he doesn't have time for certain things or certain things get held over or whatever, at most 2 weeks. And those knives are all Master Smith quality. And some people might not think that, but I've looked at a lot of Master Smith knives. Just an absolute ton, years of Master Smith knives, because I was a collector before I was a maker. And I've seen Mastersmith quality knives for the last 20 years go into knife shows as those people who run to the booths. They're like at the 10 hours before the show starts and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I've done all that, and I've seen Mastersmith's knives for a long time. And
Right.
whenever I see, because I own several of Otis Sears knives, and
he just throws them at you at Blade Show. It really pissed me off. I didn't get one.
to be fair, I've traded him knives and everything.
I don't care.
But it's one of those things where I can look at his knives for as long as I want because I have them in my possession. So I can see, try and find stuff that's off or symmetry is messed up or something like that. And I'm telling you, there's not issues with those knives. It's just absolutely nuts. And the fact that he turns them out as fast as he does is absolutely crazy. It doesn't make any dang sense.
Yeah, he must have Asperger's or something.
Yeah, he got hit with the spectrum. But yeah, he's one person that proves that you don't have to spend that much time.
So you believe in statistics. You believe in statistics. You understand statistics then. And Otis Sear would be considered an outlier.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely an outlier. There was out of how many vendors were at Blade Show?
Right.
How many vendors were there? I mean, like 800? Did you say 800, Josh?
803. It was actually 803. But go ahead.
So out of all those vendors, you could take a knife like his to each of the tables and compare them, and you're going to have your guys that do spend like few months on their knives, and those guys got some crazy stuff going on.
Right.
And yes, they're absolutely insane with the amount of detail that goes in them. But I think if I was going to spend, let's say, and it's different for me because I have knives that I make fast and I have knives that take me a long time because I have to film them.
Like the one you're working on now, that beast
correct.
of a blade. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to take me
at
least 2 weeks.
Is that Quaken? Is that the Quaken?
No, this one's the Kukri.
Kukri, I'm sorry.
That's going to have the dragon scales down the spine.
I knew it was a Ku. I knew it was a Ku something. It was a Ku something. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to take me 2 weeks just to do the scales.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the video come out on Tuesday, and that is just starting the scales with the stuff that I'm using, like the amount of work that I can do on the 2x72, the amount of work that I can do with an angle grinder, and then starting the file work. The rest of the file work that it's going to take to get all of that, because I don't want to spend more than like 3-4 hours a day filing.
Yeah.
It's going to take long. Now, it's not going to take as long as the last one because I know what to do now that I've already done on one knife. So I'm not having to just make up the process, because whenever I originally did the first dragon scales, there was no video on the internet at all that show you how to do that. That show you how to make it look. It is 3-dimensional, but to make it look really 3-dimensional so that the scales actually like dive into the one in front of them. And you get the shadows and you get the texture and all that stuff. Nope, there's nobody on the internet that shows you how to do that work. So I had to just make up the process. And it took me 35 hours to do the last, the filing on the last one.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that it'll only take me about 20 to 25 hours.
I do want to say,
next one.
You were going to give me a nickname this week. What was it? Bear or teddy bear or something like that?
Bear.
Yeah. And I don't understand why. You can explain that later. But what I do want to explain to you, your new nickname is Donald Biden, because you didn't answer the question. Would you rather spend? For those that watch the debate, would you rather, Donald Biden? Would you rather spend 2 months making 20 knives for selling for $400 a piece that were all just kind of, would you rather make a masterpiece?
I would rather make a masterpiece.
Masterpiece. VMAX?
That's a loaded question for me because it takes me to do the basic knife like 2 months to get it done.
You're the best file man in this group, so hush.
Yeah. So I think it's a depends thing. I go back to say if I was doing it for a living and I was using that money to feed my family,
of course, yeah.
That hey, maybe doing a 6-month knife that wasn't going to make enough, for that I might have needed to do the 29.
Well, you said right? It's a depends thing, but I didn't refer to you as Donald Biden. I referred to Eric as Donald Biden. He needed depends. I understand that, but anyway, go right ahead.
So yeah, I think so. Right now, if I didn't have to, if it wasn't being my main living, I would absolutely rather do the Mastersmith level knife if I had the skill to do that.
Yeah, this is a side gig question then. Yeah, side gig, not paying the rent.
Yep. So yes, that would be the. That
I
would be
can
my
answer the
preference.
question for Josh. He'd rather make 10 knives in 1 month that were really good quality than 20 in 2 months that were poor quality, and he'd whip out a sword in the process.
So there's a caveat to that. So there is a test done, and I'm sure you guys have heard this about an art class where they had two groups of people. One group that made production level work. Each week they had to turn in something for the entire semester. But then they had one group where they had all semester to work on one project. And the whole goal of the people who had all semester was like, hey, you spend every bit of time you have making this as nice as possible. And then, the people who were in the production group, they still had to turn in a final project, but they only got a week to do it. And the projects turned in by the people who did production level work throughout the semester was as good or better than the people who took all semester to make the projects on average. I'm sure, there are like outliers and all that good stuff. But one thing to that where like it would be one of those things that like maybe up front, if I had to just like be forced to kick out knives, I feel like it's just one of those things where up front it might be terrible, right? Like your knives may not be very good quality. But over time, I feel like your efficiency would get so much better and you'd be able to recognize a lot of the mistakes
and improve them in the process.
And exactly. And by the time you're through whatever the time frame was for this challenge, you would potentially be a better maker than if you were only making a few very high-end knives. For me personally, like that would drive the absolute joy out of what I do to do production level stuff and same things over and over and over again. But I feel like it would be a good growing opportunity to take advantage of where you have to get stuff done. And then at that point, now efficiency is king, right? And so it drives you look at from a production standpoint in manufacturing, things like that, when you have time frames and time limitations, you go through a lot of process optimization and you really develop a true understanding of your process and everything that goes into making a blade, and the time that it takes. And so now instead of spending years and years and years, making a handful of knives, slowly identifying those shortcomings and changing them over a long term, I mean, you'll find that stuff very quickly and be able to make those changes and become a much more efficient knife maker. And you'll be able to recognize stuff. Your acceptance level is going to grow a lot more because things that are hard to you when you spend a lot of time working on it become easier because you're like, hey, this one looks better than the other one. Okay, I'm going to try that next time. Oh, I did this. And, oh, that one looks even better. And so your learning curve, if you just make like one or two knives, it's a very slow, steady climb. If you're making a bunch of them, man, your learning curve goes way up. So, I mean, a part of me wants to say I would rather make the cheaper knives quickly and in the long run grow as a maker. However, I don't see myself doing that.
It'd be nice to make that one knife and put it on the shelf and then start making 20 knives a month. And I would say I'm going to throw that back at Eric again because I think, Eric, you could relate it to your, I remember when you were a stock removal guy. And online when I was, didn't know you yet and watching you make knives and you were inspiring me then. And then you started hammering, and damn, if you weren't hammering, I mean, even every Saturday night, you hammer out a knife in 2 hours for everybody. And during the period when you were, went full time with your business, you were hammering out knives every day and your skills just grew tremendously over that time. You already had a good base, but I think repetition, what Josh is saying, the more you make, the better you get. As long as you look to grow as you're doing it. I see a lot of guys that I've followed for a few years and their work doesn't seem to change and their quality doesn't seem to change. And that's kind of where that question came from. And it's not that they're bad or ugly knives. It's just don't see any growth there in some of the things that we as makers know that, they should not be leaving those things in the knife or should be improving upon that. Just don't seem to get better. I don't know.
Yeah. So for me, it's a little bit different. So before I went full time, of course, a lot of my builds were filmed. So by default, everything had to take however long it was going to take. And then I, of course, did batch knives in between that because I have a website and you got to keep inventory on your website. So by default, you do batch knives and do orders and stuff like that. But for me, it's a little bit different because about it's a little bit different for me. Not everybody does what I do because they don't film themselves making their knives and then watch hours upon hours upon hours of themselves making the knives. So my learning curve is it's like I learned way faster than I would have if I was just doing the knife making and having to learn from the finished product versus doing a thing and then watching myself move my hands a weird way or twist my body a weird way or do something a weird way or screw something up after watching it for 4 hours and doing that for 500 videos. I've watched thousands of hours of myself making knives. So it's like, athletes that don't watch game day footage versus athletes that do watch game day footage, they get to learn way faster because they get to have people point out and go, you see right here, whenever you twisted this way or when you moved this way, where you went this way when you should have went that way, now that you can look at it from top down, this is what you need to change because of this. And you actually get to see those things. So it's a little bit different for me. I got to learn a lot faster and I still do batch knives. I mean, I've made a lot of knives. And for me, the reason why I say I would rather take the time to make the crazy knife is because I get way more fulfillment out of being able to go artistically crazy on a build versus making 20 knives. Now, those 20 knives are going to be my design and are going to have my creativity. But by the time you hit the 10th knife, you're like, screw this. I want to do something else. I got to make something else because you are just like you're done.
Right.
And I'm about to do an order over. I don't know how long it's going to
That's a big
be.
order.
300.
Wow.
So it is going to be absolutely
309s?
ridiculous.
309s?
Yes.
Stock
Yeah.
removal or?
Yeah, all stock removal. They are all neck knives, and I'm having the main parts water jetted because they're going to have their collaboration with Two Bastards, Texas Smithy and Supply, and so the profiles are going to be water jetted because no one's cutting out by hand 309s. If
Yeah.
you are, you're crazy and you're wasting a lot of material. So they're going to be water jetted, and then I'm going to do all the bevels and all the texturing to all of them because they all have a rock texture. So every single
Right.
one of them has to be fully textured, and that's everything's textured but the bevels. So the entire blade or the entire from tip to the end of the tang have to be textured.
Yeah.
And then I have to grind the bevels in for all of them and then make Kydex sheaths for all of them.
Yeah. You can just ball paint them and call them forged too and get a few more dollars out of them.
Well, it won't even matter because the whole point behind doing this mini is trying to get the price point as low as possible so you can actually sell them as fast as possible. So one of the reasons why we're water jetting is because
Are these the deer anus remove or deer booty knives we talked about in like episode 2?
You could absolutely do that with these. You could do that with these, but they're not that cool. But you could.
Well, I know Otis here was a big proponent of that. I just want to make sure you weren't stealing from him. So, guys, I tell you what, where can you get, as of today's date, for less than $5,000, get a 25-ton forge, 25-ton hydraulic press? Excuse me.
A big forge.
That's a heavy
That
forge.
is a heavy forge, isn't it? You can stamp out a whole car in one pop, or heat a whole car up at one time and then stamp it out. No, where can you get a whole press, hydraulic press, for less than $5,000? 25 tons, $4,000.
I would have to wager a guess.
Yeah, was it?
I'd say probably a place called Clark Ironworks. I believe.
ClarkIronforge.com. You were exactly right. Clark Taplin, I tell you what, he's got a great smaller forge. I believe, is it 17 tons? He's got a 25-ton, and he's got a 40-ton. That's one that presses from the bottom up. Nice unit. I've seen them all firsthand. These things run fast. They are welded beautifully. His tooling is great. His dies are perfect. Makes them all right there just below Nashville, in the city Franklin, where all of the stars live. He is a press and forge maker to the stars, if any of them make knives. But I will tell you, you need to check out ClarkIronforge.com and see what Clark Taplin has to offer. I've got one of his presses here recently, and I am so tickled with it. Matter of fact, you were talking, Eric, about growth and continuing to move on and getting tired of what you're doing and so on. My next knife's going to be one similar in style that I'm making right now, but it's going to be a forged out version of that. So it's a little bit of growth, and ClarkIronforge.com allows you to do such things. So check that out. And he's also got new forges coming out as well. They won't be 25 tons. They'll be regular size forges. And it's got nice, wonderful burners on that. Matter of fact, Eric's going to tell you, while we're talking about forges and presses, you can't get along with those without a really good hammer. And F&M Metalworks, that's Two Bastards. Nita and Frankie make some of the best hammers out there, guys. It's a who's who of hammer owners that's got these hammers, and I'm glad to say I'm now one too. So go out and check them out on Facebook at facebook.com/Two Bastards. That's BASTERDS, Two Bastards. And check them out and see what all they have to offer, because they offer a lot more than just hammers. So really good people. Go ahead.
The cool thing about both Clark and Frank and Nita, for one, Frank and Nita, they've been doing it for over 6 years, and they make they make their hammers, plus they do restorations on hammers, and they also do swage blocks. They do all kinds of stuff, so that's really cool. But what I like about these people,
other than they're just damn good people, but go ahead.
They are good people, and these are people that you can get a hold of and talk to them. So like a lot of the people that we talk about on this podcast and people that we do, kind of like our sponsorship stuff with, these are people that whenever you call their phone numbers, you talk to owners, you talk to people that are just down to earth, natural people. They're not trying to sell you something. They're just trying to figure out what you have going on and what thing you're trying to do with it. And Clark is a super chill, awesome dude. Goofy, funny. Whenever he was at the
wears a dress. He wears a dress.
That doesn't surprise me.
An Irish Scottish dress.
Irish Scottish dress. But he's just a down to earth dude and super funny dad joke telling. I bet you get along with him well, Chip.
I do, and I was so taken back. I am so glad that you and Nita didn't change shirts out there on the floor at Blade Show. I'm still verklempt about that.
It was that close. It was close. You could say they'd give you the shirt off their back, right? I mean, is that what
Mark and I were sitting there going,
hey, there's a chance that if we weren't at that hotel in front of all those people, that we probably would have changed shirts.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Even though I brought it up, but I don't want to talk about it.
But anyways, these people that we know within the knife making community, whether we're talking about Broadbeck or Ameribraid or several of these other guys that we're going to talk about later in the podcast, these people, we actually talk to the guys that run the business. These are when we call these phone numbers. It is the guys who are helping design the things. It's the guys who are helping come up with the tool ideas, or they just create the things in general.
Are you saying I can't call Vivor and speak to the?
If you could speak Chinese, you absolutely could. You could talk to all of them. I don't know if you know Chinese.
I'm not saying I do know a little Mandarin Chinese because I had to work over in Beijing a while, but it's typically just stuff. Where's the bathroom? Can I have a beer? And Shay, thank you very much. So,
you just need to know what Buji Dao.
What is that like? Can I have a beer?
No, he said I'm looking for a man. I think he said I'm looking for a mandate or something like that. It translates to
said whiskey.
Oh, it's translated. I'm looking for whiskey. Yeah. I'm looking for a man today, and I'm looking for whiskey. Is kind of the same thing. It translates very. Chinese translations. You have to be very careful.
Yeah. Inflection means everything.
What does that mean, Josh?
Yeah,
it literally means I don't know. What Buji Dao? Like if you so I learned a little bit when I was in college, and I learned enough of multiple different languages for whoever I'm talking to think I'm a complete idiot. So it's always a fun conversation.
What's the funniest thing you can say in any language?
Maybe not podcast.
It's okay. Mine was boca cerrada no entra moscas.
What does that mean?
It means close your mouth.
Yes,
or the flies will come in.
Excellent. Very good Italian, but it's not Italian. It's actually Spanish. And when I worked in Mexico, people told me that a lot, and I come to find out it's like he talks too much.
That's what it means. That's what the actual meaning is, right?
He won't shut up. And I guess you guys can see that listening to this podcast. I will say this reminded me of something. I won a piece of gum this week. I was at my local Lowe's and I noticed a lady had a Brazilian patch on her shirt. And I said, are you from Brazil? And she said, yes, I've lived here for 9 months. My husband and I, and he works in Huntsville, done something with the military, and she's working at Lowe's. And she said, I love this. I said, why did you move to Hartselle? And she explained why and so on. And then I said, and she looked at me, she goes, do you know what language we speak in Brazil? I said, Portuguese. Hoping I was correct, but knowing that Otis here speaks Portuguese, she goes, you're the first person that got that right. I said, I have a very good friend Otis here who runs with the jaguars in the jungle and speaks Portuguese as he's running from them. So. And she gave me a piece of gum, and we made a connection. So it was a friendship. There you go.
I love stuff like that.
With all that
Just
being
meeting
said,
random
guys,
people.
yeah, and you can meet random people at Pop's Knife Supplies. I was over there several weeks ago and ran into some random people. There was a guy there. Actually, he just turned around. I said, "That's a fine looking woman." Talking to McKenna over there is like, "Hey, nice. You ladies have a nice day." And one turned around. It was a guy. It wasn't a girl. And it was McKenna was the other one. And I had to flip my way out of that one. But anyway, you can meet all kinds of people there as well. Pop's Knife Supplies, popsknifesupplies.com. They were started 40 years ago by James Poplin. And James is no longer with us anymore. But man, he really planted a seed for the community and making supplies and things available to what it's developed to today with Alan Searles, Joey Berry, and Dirk Lutz. Not only are they running their Georgia knife guild out of there, they've got their shop is set up in there. They work out of there. There's knives for sale. There's supplies for sale. They host all kinds of events. I tell you what, you won't find better stewards in the knife making community than Pop's Knife Supplies. So go check them at popsknifesupplies.com or popsknife.supplies. Either one will take you there, whichever one you used to go into. And that's all I have to say about that. Pop's Knife Supplies. There you go.
Again, one of the things that I like about them is the fact that they charge you shipping and it comes back and it's less than what they charged you, they send you a refund. There's not many people that will do that.
That's a good marketing thing because you always get something back. You always, it's like getting a rebate back. You got something back out of it, and there's not a lot of companies do that, nor do they have to do that. And I will tell you the way they package their materials and the way they come to you. I've seen their packaging stations over there and how it's set up and things are put together and go out the door. Very, very professional. Set up super professional. It's like the miniature Amazon of knife making supplies. Great business.
Yep. So coming off our ads and all that stuff. So with different vendors and different, this is kind of a thing that people ask about and on my videos and just different things like that. Who do I prefer to order knife steel from? Who do I, because they see me do a lot of reclaimed steel. They see me do a lot of 5160, forge and leaf springs and all that stuff. And it's when they do see me make a knife out of 1084 or a piece of round bar or something that I got from one of these vendors, they ask me, who do I like to work with? And I tell them Pops. I tell them Maritime Knife Supply. I've used New Jersey Steel Baron. I've used several, Texas, what was like Texas Knife Maker Supply or something like that.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Yeah. I've used a lot of these different companies over the years.
Jans is another one.
Jans, yeah. I don't really order much steel from Jans, but I do order handle materials, pen materials, stuff like that from them. But a lot of these different vendors have things that they're known for and things that you can get really easy from them. Like if I want that hexagonal bar, the 1085 from Maritime, get it in a 4-foot length, order it from them. But if I want 8670, I'm going to go through Pops for that. What I tell people is figure out what you want to work with and then figure out the people that you want to work with. And just work with those people. I mean, you can always branch out and try other vendors and things like that, but really build a relationship with the supplier that you want to work with. Because we've done that with a lot of different people. We know a lot of these people by name that work at these different suppliers.
Right.
And we can call them and say, hey, you know what? Have you tried this? I've been wanting to work with it. I use a forge to do my heat treating. Would you suggest that I use that steel with a forge, or do I need a heat treat oven? A lot of these people who have these companies or work at these companies are also knife makers. So I always suggest that if you're going to get into knife making, and I do tell people when you start knife making, sure, you can use reclaimed steels, but it's actually really cheap to just get yourself some 1084 bars, or heck, even 80 CRV2 or whatever,
Right.
because you can easily figure out how to heat treat those materials. If you're using some coil spring off a Honda Civic, that might not even be 5160. So when you go to heat treat it, it could not heat treat at all.
Civic spring steel, by the way, is 8670. Just so you know.
Right. And so it's one of those things where build the relationship with the people and don't be afraid to call them. A lot of people nowadays just want to order through the internet.
I think Josh has looked it up. Let's see if.
So I used to work for Honda.
Same.
And I got curious because on the race team we had some leftover stuff, and I was like, gee, I wonder. The Honda spring steel used on a Honda Civic Type R is 54 SICR6.
So it's got chromium.
It is a Japanese standard call out. But I do not know the chemical composition of it.
Well, you know it's got chromium in it.
You happen to mention spring for Honda Civic, and I was like, you won't believe what I have in store for you.
I saw his eyes open up when you said that, Eric. Yep. He was like, I knew he was going for it.
See, and a lot of people, they'll grab those coils or somebody, because as soon as you tell anybody that you make knives, they're like, I've got scrap steel off the wazoo. I'll bring it to you for free.
Yeah.
You'll take and you'll forge that out. But whenever you go to heat treat that, if you don't know what it is, you are just winging the heat treat. And especially if you've watched 10 YouTube videos and all they did was bring it up to non-magnetic and you don't even know what that technically means. You just know they checked it with a magnet and it didn't stick, put it in oil. And go ahead.
I have found it. So when I first looked this up, I couldn't find the chemical composition, but for 54 SICR6, which is a spring steel off of a vehicle, doesn't necessarily have to be Honda, but its carbon content is 51 to 59, and then it's got 0.5 to 0.8 manganese, so it'll etch dark, and then it's got 1.2 to 1.6 silicon. It's got less than 0.025% phosphorus, which may make it usable for her Oroshigane. And then it's got very little sulfur and 0.5 to 0.8 chromium. So definitely a chromium steel with medium high carbon.
Damn,
so,
look at that.
Maybe a little shy of just 5160.
The knife Templars got all damn technical. Listen at us.
Yeah.
So,
we love you, Josh. Drop the mic.
The Ford F350 coil. Was it F350? I think it's an F250. Yeah, the coil that I got off of that. So whenever I forged it out, you could tell it has chromium in it because the amount of corrosion resistance that it has whenever you do go to etch it. So it might etch more because of the magnesium, but then you add the chromium to it and it will have a nice sturdy edge. But yeah, I mean, you could definitely, if that's close to 5160, then all you got to do is heat treat it near 5160. And 5160 is the easiest steel on the planet to heat treat. You can heat treat it on accident and get a hardened blade. It is.
Oh, geez, yeah. If you don't like anneal it after forging and you try to drill a hole
it's hard.
in
it, they're screaming. Yeah,
I remember I went through so many Lowe's drill bits, not realizing that I needed to anneal it properly. The first time I tried to do a leaf spring, it was just hilarious now looking back on it, but I was so frustrated. I just kept snapping and dulling drill bits.
You take it out of the forge and just happen to swing it through the air too fast. and it's wanting to quench. Like it's ridiculous. I did a test whenever I think this was like 2 years ago, and I heat treated all the way from quenching at I think it was 1375 all the way up to 1600, and at like 25-degree increments, and I got like 60 HRC on
Wow.
almost every single one of those. Now, the 1375 was not the best. 1425 to like 1575, snapping them and everything, it was almost the same. Like, it is such a broad range of being able to quench that steel that it is nuts. Which is, I tell people a lot of times to do 5160, but if you can buy it and you know it's 5160, it's easier. But shoot, 5160 is like the easiest thing to heat treat.
Yeah, the fact that it's like a slow or like a deep hardening steel, and you can cool it pretty slowly and still harden it.
Yep.
The only thing that messes a lot of people up is the decarb.
Oh yeah,
it decarbs super bad. So like if you forge it a bunch, you'll have to grind through a lot of decarb in order to get to that hard steel. But that steel underneath is like
you also have to forge that very hot too, right?
No, but so here's the deal with 5160.
Yeah.
Forging it hot makes it easy to move, but you can planish that stuff at gray.
Okay.
Like it is super forgiving. 80 CRV2, super forgiving. People are cold forging 80 CRV2 right now. That's the current trend with 80 CRV2. But it is one of those things where, again, it's a beast to move, so you get it hot so that you can forge it easily. But like I said, you can planish it cooler. It's still going to be hot. If you turn the lights off, it's probably still reddish. But under the light, it could look kind of gray. But with 5160, like I said, it's a very forgiving steel. Like you don't have to be like super crazy with it. But like he was saying with the
You don't have to
decarb
worry
layer,
about it. You don't have to worry about it cracking or anything if it's too cold.
As long as you do your thermal cycling and all that stuff in a grain refinement and everything, you're going to be fine. Just do your normal normalizing grain refinement cycles and all that stuff. Release the tension, everything that you're going to do with that. But whenever he was talking about decarb, I show this on almost every video where I heat treat, where I take and I file off the whole entire cutting edge. Like I'll do the quench and then I will file it and get all the way through the decarb, and then I'll file test it. Because a lot of people will quench it and they're going, how are you getting 65 HRC files to skate your 5160? I've never got them that hard. And it's because they're not taking that decarb layer off their edge. They're just taking their file and they're pulling it out of the quench, maybe giving it a couple of minutes. Then they're testing it, and it's absolutely not skating even a 55 HRC file, because all they're doing is they are filing that decarb layer. And sometimes decarb can make you think it's a little bit harder if you're on the bevels or something like that. But whenever you go and you're trying to file on that cutting edge, you'll think it's not hard and, oh, dang, I got to go and requench this. But really all you got to do is get through that decarb layer on the cutting edge,
right,
down to the nice steel that's hardened, and boom, you file test it and you're golden. But nobody really shows that in videos. They just go, because it's a lot easier to grab people's attention by quench, flames, pull it out of the flames, grab your file. And then
I don't get
it goes into the oven.
I used to get kind of sad if I didn't get a flame when I quench my steel way back, and I don't really care. I don't really care anymore.
Quench everything in Parks 50.
Yeah, I do quench everything in Parks 50, but I don't get a flame anymore, and it's like I don't really care.
What are you?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten a flame
on Parks 50.
No.
Are you quenching the entire thing all the way down?
Well, if I should take that back. If it's just an edge quench, yes, but typically I just quench everything all the way down. And my tongs are cool. I don't want to put hot tongs in it because it just lights the top of the surface, and you got to put out a fire. So I was just, the point is that everybody talks about looking for the big flame and exciting, but I don't even get the flame anymore.
See, I don't quench everything tip to the end of the tank. It depends.
Eric likes the flame.
No, it's not that I like the flame.
I think he likes the flame.
I do too.
He is doing it for YouTube, so he wants people to see the flame.
Sometimes I like the flame, but it depends on if I'm making like a hidden tang knife. I won't quench the tang on that. I'll take it all the way up to the ricasso or maybe the bolster area or just shy of the integral bolster area. But I don't want that transition step down to be hardened.
I do have to blue a tang and just slightly into the ricasso tomorrow so I can do some filing for my guard. So I will tell you, you're exactly right on that. I fully quenched my last one, and I was like, I'm going to have to soften that tang back up.
Yeah. Now, and I'm going to go against myself for a second here, and I'm not trying to throw you off, but there are some people that want to quench the whole entire thing. So whenever they do their tempering process, the whole entire thing's tempered to what they know it's tempered to. So there's going to be those moments where people are going to quench the entire thing, and then they're going to temper the entire thing back to where they want it to be. And then they could always blue it back even more if they want to. But there are certain builds that I don't want certain parts of it hardened.
Understood.
Just because it's personal preference on that. So I get flames on certain ones, but flames bother me. Whenever I get flames, man, I get super smoked out in my shop, and I don't really like that. And I don't.
Your sprinkler system is a garden hose.
Sprinkler system's absolutely a garden hose, but all I do is I just take the lid and it puts out fire. But
I'll quench the whole thing regardless. Like, if I've got even like my transitions, like the only time I quench like a hard transition is for my like integral fit ups. Because I'll do all of my file guide stuff before I go into the quench, but that's really the only time I quench with a hard like edge or whatever. But if you go through like your full normalizing and all of that good stuff, I've never had an issue with like stress risers or anything like that. Because then on top of that, like you said, I go into the temper afterwards and the whole thing's tempered. And then if I need to do anything with the tang, I will, draw the temper back if I need to drill a hole or whatever later. But the one thing you got to be careful if you do heat treat the whole thing and it's Damascus and you have an integral bolster and you don't have your integral fit up done before the heat treat, you're not going to be able to file it. And so you have to draw the bolster back. But the problem with drawing the bolster back is that you unheat treat your bolster, which causes your Damascus pattern to just be very dull in the bolster area. So that's really like the only time where if you're doing any sort of fit up or whatever post heat treat, if it's like a monosteel knife, then it's like no big deal to bring the temper back into the bolster. But if it's Damascus, you bring that temper too far back, and you're going to start losing your differentiating or contrasting rather pattern on your.
So your color will be different when you etch it.
Yeah. So
it'll be gray and silver instead of black and silver.
There's another reason behind that too. So if you're doing a full tang knife and you want your pattern to show all the way around your tang, same thing. You want to quench the whole entire thing. so that your pattern shows.
Drill your holes first.
Hey guys, just so that we don't run short on time here, I just want to make sure that we talk about redeemsteel.com. They're made up of craftspeople of all sorts: blacksmiths, bladesmiths, metalworkers, woodworkers, and leather workers, using their talents for homes for the homeless, give water to the thirsty, feed the hungry, and share the good news of Jesus Christ. I tell you what, Billy Salyers does a great job with Redeem Steel. He's got a great, wonderful story about where he left his job and started up Redeem Steel, and how God's took care of him and his family and his mission to go out and make a difference in everybody's life in the world. So you guys go out and visit redeemsteel.com. I also want to bring up Phoenix Abrasives. They're one of my favorite abrasive companies. I love them. And Sean and Greg over there, they offer great prices, selection, quality, quick delivery, and have a complete inventory of belts, discs, rolls, wheels, and everything else you need to get the job done right. Matter of fact, I got 2 new rolls of sand and paper right now used for making those beautiful handles that Otis here taught me how to make. And the good news is if you enter Templars 10 at checkout, you get 10% off of your order at Phoenix Abrasives. And guys, let me just throw out one more, because this is the advertising minute here. AmeriBrade grinders and accessories. Find them at AmeriBrade.com. Eric and Kevin, another small business started up, and they have become A1 in the market as far as building some of the best grinders out there. I would say of the top 2 or top 3 or 4 grinders, they're my grinder brand, as well as Mark Vasallo's, and they are some of the best, and their accessories and tools on the market are just wonderful. You can take a look at one of the 3 packages: the Mastery, the Foundations, or the Get Grinding, to see what works right for you. Matter of fact, when you call them, you're going to speak to Eric or Kevin. They're always available and always there. And also, on your first purchase, if you put in Templars 20 at checkout, you're going to get 20% off of parts and accessories. That's an amazing offer. So you should enjoy that now before it ends. And if you don't have an AmeriBrade grinder, most of their accessories and parts can be used on other grinder brands. So check them out and see what they have to offer. All right, we're back.
Your ad block, the block of the ads, and
well, these guys support us, and they support our hobby, business, industry, and how could we not want to support such great innovators and visionaries that have made what we do capable?
Well, yeah, and it's not, again, just us talking about whoever, about whatever, anything like that. There's no Vivor ad in here or anything like that. A lot of the things that we talk about, these are people that we talk to, and these are brands and groups that we know of, and that we know the people who are part of them, and it's them helping us helping them. So it's a good thing. We're not talking about some mattress company based out of Indonesia or something like that, like a lot of other podcasts do. So it's these are all brands that we use and are confident with. But so y'all use the AmeriBrades.
Without a doubt, there ain't a better grinder out there. Now, come on, there's a close number 2 and 3, but there ain't a better grinder. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
What do y'all like most about your AmeriBrades?
It's a tank. It's an industrial piece of equipment. It is solid. It is firm. If you saw them at Blade Show this year, they've got a wall of accessories that can't be beat. They're working off of a 2-inch arm, which I love, that beefier arm, and just everything about them is just a solid, hardworking machine. There's no plastic in that machine. It's just top notch. Every aspect of it has been well thought out by 2 rocket scientists.
Yeah. So, Mark, as a newer knife maker, what do you like most about it? Because a lot of the tools that you have, these are still new tools to you. What do you think about it? What made you decide to get an AmeriBrade?
I think it was really just what Chip mentioned, is that it was a tank. It had a good entry price point, right? Like I think there's some things like I looked at a lot of grinders at Blade Show this year, because I always want to see like what are the other grinders making, right? And so you look at some of the other ones, and there are things that are nicer. for certain features, right? But
blasphemy,
to be able
blasphemy.
But to get the features you have on the Ameribraid for the price point that you can get it at, I think that's really the huge win, right? And so, I just liked it. It was, I like the new fastback model. It's simple to use. It's easy to change the arms out. It's kind of, quick going back and forth. When I'm, I can store them on the stand that they make, but during a knife build, I have them all laid out, next to my, I don't put them back in the stand. I just kind of keep them there next to it. And it just takes a second to, untap the, unscrew those and throw a new one in and put another arm in. Now, well, here's what I'll say that it is, a good and a bad thing about them. The arms, because they're steel and you can abuse the heck out of them, they're also heavy, right? And so I picked up a lot of the grinders that had aluminum arms. I'm like, wow, this is super light. But as you put the screws into those on the sides, they mark, they dig in, and after a while, you might have to change out an arm. And so I think there's an exchange that I'm sure this arm is going to last forever. For me, I don't make that many knives that I'm swapping them out all the time. So I like the rigidity, and probably that I'll have this to pass on to my son if he ever decides to make knives.
Okay. My Ameribraid is 2 years old this month. My warranty just ran out, and everything's running beautifully. But also, let me say this, because you know what? I talked to Kevin over to Ameribraid, and he actually loves the other makers as well that are out there. So let's talk about Broadbeck Ironworks. That they're one of the most versatile 2x72s on the market. They offer build your own, fully assembled, and painted grinders. Their 2x72 is easy to assemble, bolt together design, with the capability to run a belt vertically and horizontally. They just come out with a new grinder stand that actually holds their tools as well. And they offer a full line from basic chassis to fully capable machines. If you enter Templar's 10 at checkout, you get 10% off parts and accessories for them all the time. Josh is a Broadbeck user. So there's your next guy.
That's what I was going to say.
Yep.
And so what do you like about your Broadbeck versus their Ameribraids?
Well, I haven't used an Ameribraid. I have used a couple of other grinders, but I like the thing that drew me to them initially was the attachments that they have, and I've got a bunch of different attachments for it. So it really, they had like the integral grinding attachment, the waterfall attachment, like all of this stuff. It's it's all stuff you can make, right? But it's one of those things that, like, if you make it, you kind of have to make adjustments to set. And the other thing, I like the fact that, like, I can just put it on and I know that it's going to work. The other thing too is, like, I was fortunate enough to get in on the Broadbeck thing whenever they were fairly new, and so I got to meet Vince and Ryan, and they have a forge from me as well, and so it was kind of like a neat little experience there to get to meet them and talk to them too about, like, their business and stuff that they do. And I was recommended to them by Dave Custer of Fiery Furnace Forge. He's another fantastic hammer maker, and I've got his hammers and I've got his tongs and all of that good stuff. And he's a good buddy of mine. And so I actually went up to visit him, and he had one of their grinders there, and he was just showing me. And, like, for the price that you're paying for the kit, it was kind of hard to beat at the time. And, I've got it. I've been using it. I've had to replace, one thing on it the whole time I've had it. And, it's been really good for me. And, yeah, it's neat. And, I kind of bridged the gap just recently. I got a house-made Radius Platen, and, those guys are doing a lot of cool stuff. And, I talk to them at Blade Show every year, and they had a dog's head hammer that they were working with Gnome Hammer Forge on, and I am not a fan of dogs' heads. I've used them a bunch of times, and I've not had good results with it. In fact, I actually blew my elbow out one time using one, and so I kind of tore them off.
That's where you went to the doctor and it popped back in, right?
Yeah, where both of the bones in my forearms were out of position, and he popped them back in place, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" So I haven't used dog's head since then. I used one at Batson's in the after hours when we all got together and started forging stuff. And I still didn't like it, but I read up on the one that they're doing with Gnome Hammer Forge, and they were talking about the traditional style and like how it's got a drop to it that like a lot of people who make dog's head hammers don't actually put the drop in, which is what it's supposed to have, and all of this good stuff. And it's a light hammer. It's like 1.5 pounds. But I was like, it's kind of like, you know what, I'll kind of play with it and see how it goes. And I got that, and I was like, well, if I'm buying something, I may as well get the radius platen, because I do a lot of chef's knives, and I wanted to play with some S grind stuff. And so obviously it was drilled for their grinder, and so earlier today I transferred all of the hole locations for the Broadbeck and drilled and tapped those holes and got it set up. So I'm hoping to play with that a little bit. And so, I'm a big proponent of like, having the right tool for the job, and, there's a tool for everything. And so, depending on what you're doing, a Ameribraid may have an attachment that'll work better than one of the Broadbeck ones, vice versa, or even, Housemade or any of these guys out there. I mean, like, there's a lot of great tools out there, and so the grinder chassis is kind of like a means to an end, right? You need a good tool that's got power, rigidity, reliability, all of that good stuff. And I think with today's market, I mean, when you go back, when I first started like looking into knife making and all of that stuff, I mean, you pretty much had like
Grizzly,
Grizzly, and what's the not Birking, and like Bader, and those guys, like, and they were like insanely expensive, like $5,000 to $10,000. And then like people started making them, and those were still expensive. And like, you had the good ones like the TW90s and things like that. But, you're still, you're looking at a pretty big investment to get a 2x72, a nice one that you could do a lot of stuff with. And now like with the advent of companies like Ameribraid and Broadbeck and Housemade and like all of this stuff, there's a lot of stuff on the market now that like we as knife makers in the industry right now are pretty spoiled in comparison to what was out there. Even like 10 years
20,
ago,
40 years ago. Yes, you're exactly right. Yeah.
Right. So I think really whatever one you get is going to be a huge improvement.
Well, don't let me forget to say, housemade.us, Brian Houseworth, they offer 2x72 grinders, actually forges and builds fans, build plans, quench plates, and so much more. If you go to housemade.us industrial and check out the great Apollo forge as well. So if you're looking for a great forge as well as a 2x72 grinder or any of the other things that he has to offer, Brian Houseworth is quite the innovator as well. And you mentioned TW90. I know that you sell over at TR-Makers, got a grinder on the market right now, and a lot of people. I know your buddy up in Colorado is using his small wheel attachments and such on his grinder. So there's so many great people out there. As a matter of fact, I think there's going to be a point, probably when when Forged in Fire leaves the air and it kind of drifts away, so to speak. There's probably going to be a nice fire sale and some really good equipment in the future.
I mean, it hasn't yet.
What's the status? What's the status? Do we know? Forged in Fire update.
Nobody knows.
Right.
Well,
yeah, I talked with the judges at Blade Show. I see them and I like, oh, hey, how's it going? And
they told me, but they said don't tell Josh.
So
yeah,
they don't even know.
There
There was a a couple of people that were talking about if they do bring it back, that they were thinking about doing like a team style thing where they build bigger stuff like
Yeah.
trebuchets and different stuff like that. That is
Oh, yeah.
kind of crazier.
Yeah, there's a
but
casting call sent
I
out
can
for
see
that.
Team Knives Templars going in on one of those now, buddy.
There you go.
yeah,
We got some
it'd
skills.
be fun. But we'll see how all that goes. And the reason why I asked all of that was because again, that is a huge question that I get asked on my channel. You know, what grinders do I suggest? What forges do I suggest? What tools do I suggest? And we use different ones. Now, if we had everyone on here, like Otis here, and we had like everybody, we could talk about all kinds of different 2x72s.
Yeah.
And
Fear's another good one.
Yep. And just like Josh said, you really can't go wrong with any of the 2x72s that are out there nowadays, because even the ones that you can get off of Vivor are as good of 2x72s as what they were 6-7 years ago.
They've got a variable speed drive, the one that the Grizzly one that's $200 and whatever dollars, that's better than going out and buying a 2x42, balls to the wall full speed one that I started out on. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's a minimal investment. Yeah.
It really is. And it's one of those things where your 2x72 is the biggest workhorse in your shop next to you. So, you're the number one tool. I'm not calling everybody a tool, but you are a tool. And but your 2x72 is what's gonna take you from I don't want to say a beginner knife maker to a knife maker, but a person who was inefficient with their time to a person who's very efficient with their time. And for me, my 2x72 was the easiest investment in my shop, over my anvil, over my hammers, over all my stuff, because at some point your knife is going to touch a 2x72. Unless you were just doing forge to finish knives, and somehow you're just using files.
What are you going to do when you get a variable speed drive, Eric? Are you going to be able to make a knife on it, be able to slow down?
Oh yeah. Now I've used grinders that have VFDs.
Right.
I like them a lot. It's just going to be nice to not be full tilt the entire time, because I use it on the fastest speed. I've ground chef's knives to nothing and on full speed. And it's ones that have like less than 1/8 of an inch spines.
That's why I give you
zero taper at the tip.
That's why I'm giving you RESPECT. But hey, have you been using the Grizzly at all? That little Grizzly you got?
Yeah, I've used it a few times, just kind of doing sharpening and stuff like that. I'm in the process of making a sharpening attachment for it, because the primary goal for that was to just be a sharpener, because I've been using my 1x30 for the longest time with sharpening belts that I get from Pro Sharpening Supply. I'm getting the 2x42 belts just so that I have the 2-inch width as opposed to the 1-inch, and I have the VFD so that I can easily, turn it down a little bit. But it's been a fantastic grinder. I would not suggest trying to like throw a 36 grit on there and profile a blade with just your 2x72. Like literally go in and just take a rectangle and grind it into a knife profile. That's going to take a little while because it's going to bog down a little bit. But for doing bevels and all that stuff, it's perfectly fine. I know people that are using it as their primary grinder. My friend, he has a YouTube channel, the OG Frenchie on YouTube. He uses the 2x42 as his main grinder on his channel, and he has adapted a small wheel attachment to it. Him and Matt Rich, they've got small wheel attachments. They have 8-inch contact wheel attachments that they've made, and so there's a lot of ways that you can modify them and use them. They're perfectly fine, but there's just a lot of grinders out there, and
there are.
Just figure out kind of what you like. Like, okay, so me from the outside looking in, I like a lot of the stuff with the Ameribraid, like the table, and I like the way they look because they're a very pretty grinder. I like their knobs. I like all of the stuff that, that they have with their attachments and things like that. One of the things that I like about the Broadbeck is the amount of things that can be attached to where the platen goes. You just undo those two little things, pop it off. You can throw another attachment right there, pop it in place. Pull that off, throw another attachment right there, put it in place. So you're keeping the same tooling arm for a lot of different tools. And I like that aspect of the Broadbeck a lot because that's thinking through as a knife maker. If I don't need 6 tooling arms, well, then fantastic. I can just keep taking off these little smaller things and throwing them in there and use the same tooling arm and call it good. I think that that's really cool. There are cool things that you could do with the surface grinder with the Ameribraid. There's so many people that are just making amazing grinders out there, but you just got to figure out, do your research, because I'm not going to say the market's saturated, but there's a lot of people making hammers right now. There's a lot of people making grinders right now.
A lot of people making knives.
There's a lot of people making knives, and it's just figuring out the tool that you want. And again, just like I talked about with whenever you're trying to figure out your steel provider or your material provider, call these people. Call Ameribraid, talk to the people that work there. Call Broadbeck, talk to the people that work there. You're going to actually be able to do that and have access to those people.
There's not a lot of people making good handle material these days. And I tell you what, if you went out and saw Emily at castingcrafts.com and check out the styles and patterns that she produces to make handles and striking, that are just so striking. They're one of a kind. I actually had her make me some turkey feather handle scales for a knife I'll be making here soon. And I tell you, she's wonderful artist. Saw her at Blade Show, a whole spread full of just beautiful handle material. So go check out Emily at castingcrafts.com and see what she can put off. Matter of fact, if you're going to get into forging, which is a big stretch from handle material, I was talking about forges today with my buddy Josh Fran, and he says, "Hey, that Majestic Forge working good for you?" I said, "Yes, it is. Great burners on it. MajesticForge.com. They manufacture gas forges ranging from 2 to 5 burners, and many different forges to choose from as well. So go out and check out MajesticForge.com to find one that will suit your needs. And you're going to need something to put in that forge, and that's Maritime Knife Supply. MaritimeKnifeSupply.com. They're in Canada. To get great products and services in Canada and internationally, check out Maritime for great deals and service. Steel abrasives, handle material, kilns, grinders, and other tools and equipment. Know that they're going to provide you the equipment and the supplies you need to make great knives. And I will tell you, Lawrence Lake is one upstanding individual. If you got to meet him at Blade Show or some of the other things that he's involved in, you can't go wrong with Maritime Knife Supplies.
So I have to say that when I was at Blade Show, out of the blue, 2 people came up to me and said, "Hey, have you had a swim up to Maritime lately?" Like
That's
out of the
awesome.
blue, somebody came up and said that to me, like which I enjoyed, but it was pretty good, but no, it's definitely a good
Mark,
place. Lot of
there's a lot of sharks out in the water right now. It's really hitting the news. Would you be comfortable swimming up to Maritime Knife Supply knowing they had the materials you need to make great knives?
Yeah, I don't know. I might need a chase boat, but it's worth. They have a lot of stuff up there, so it might be worth the risk.
They're risking for the biscuit.
I would say,
Right.
I would risk it. They're that good. So you guys keep checking on Mark because we Vaseline him up every third Thursday and throw him in the water so he doesn't get stung by jellyfish. And we tie a raw sardine to his toe so he swims a little faster, get away from them tiger sharks. So anyway, MaritimeKnifeSupply.com. And while we're at it, I might as well just go ahead and finish up. This guy's been yakking, and Donald Biden has been on the show tonight. Eric Rivers, you can find him at theriversexperience.com. He's one of our original subscribers, or not subscribers, sponsors, excuse me. And, he runs the Rivers. Yes. He runs the Rivers Experience, and he teaches people all the time just wonderful skills in knife making, from forging, stock removal, handles, bone and antler. You name it, this guy jumps into it so that he can show people out there just what's being done. Matter of fact, there's so many guys out there doing knife making videos, and some with some really good channels. But what sets Eric apart is his ability to connect with the viewers and walk them through it as if they were in his shop as well. So you can find him over at the Rivers Experience on Facebook and YouTube. And you can also find him at theriversexperience.com on the internet, and TRE Workshop on Facebook. There we go, Eric. I'm sorry I had to correct myself there. But I consider you, as well as all these guys, I consider you a very dear friend, and mostly because you taught me to be a knife maker, and I thank you for that. Last thing I'll say before we get out of these ads, guys, I want you to know I'm the North American leader for Schegman Kluben. I've got a knife brand called Schegman Kniver. So that Schegman Kluben is Beard Club. And I noticed that everybody on here tonight is wearing a fancy beard. I would say that I probably rank with the best beard tonight, even though it's about 8 inches too short, but it is coming back. I would give VMAX I'll give you the number 2 spot. You're doing good. You're doing good, VMAX. Eric and Josh, what do you think, VMAX? What should we give them there? I think Josh's beard's still coming in. He's a young guy, but he's got a good beard. He's got a neck beard and some chin coming in there.
He's definitely third.
What are you, Eric?
Oh, I'd be fourth. But,
I don't know. I think with the beard right now, it looks like you'd have a guitar case with some firearms in it.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Just because I do doesn't mean that that's wrong. I mean,
well, we are quite the beard. we are quite the beardly bunch in here tonight, so that's cool to see. We kept all the guys who didn't respect the fact that God had given them that beautiful gift, and that women were castrated by God and gave man this beautiful mane to wear. So Odysseer and Jason and the Big Hand Dave, they walk around. I don't know what to say about their what they identify.
I think Jason has right. What does Jason look like?
He's pretty shaven. He had a little bit of a beard at Blade Show, but I would say that we'll give him a shoe in. The other ones are I'm not sure what their pronouns are. We'll just leave it at that.
All I can tell you is Odysseer is too manly to be able to have a beard. If that guy grows a beard,
if he had a beard,
oh my gosh, he's gonna have to stop. Like he's not allowed to have a beard. People would just move to the other side of the street. He'd just be walking down the street, and they would just walk across the street to avoid him.
I know, but being Brazilian and the fact that he makes knives. If he didn't have such a cool name, Odysseer Pinto, and we call him Pinto, I swear I would love to nickname him Machete.
Oh yeah,
Machete. Yeah,
no, 100%.
Why did you call me Bear, by the way?
Okay, so you're going to be like
Fat and hairy.
that's not as cool as I thought it was. So in oh shit. Okay, so what you had posted prior to that was like the Pride Month stuff, and I'm going to try not to get us canceled. I won't get us canceled.
I'm a big supporter for Pride, but Pride becomes before the fall.
Yeah, so a bear is a big burly like the guys that are into guys, but they're big and burly and have beards and like ride motorcycles. They call them bears.
Sweet. Well, interestingly enough, I decided not to be gay anymore last week. So my first week of not being a bear. So sorry about that.
You're not happy anymore?
Well, yeah, that's right. I was gay like funny. Haha. What were you thinking, Mark?
No, that's what I said. You're not happy anymore.
Yeah, I just haven't been happy this last week. No, you know what? God says love everybody, and we won't get into the politics of it because God does want us to love everybody, and that's truly how I feel. So there you go.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just thought it was funny because it was like everything leading up to it, and I was like, I don't know if he's gonna know what this term means. I didn't even know what it meant until I watched a comedy skit where somebody actually got called that,
Right.
and they were like, I don't know what that means, and then it got explained to them, and at that point, I was like, what? That's what that
Well,
means?
it's
So
quite.
then I learned it.
Most people that know me know that I tell people all the time I love you. And as they get to know me, they get more comfortable with it because he's going to say, I love you. I don't walk around work telling people I love you. That's not right. But friends and family, it's always, I love you, because I think people need to feel loved. But, Otis here finally, I was like, we were at Blade Show and I was taking off and I said, Otis here, love you. He goes, man, I love you too. And I was like, wow, what a connection. And his wife looked a little strange, like, what has he done to my husband? So it's like, nah, it's okay. It's okay. It's agape man love. That's not man love, agape love. Yeah. Love you. Eric.
Agape, man love.
Agape is the sincerest form of Christian love. Eric, I love you. Josh, I love you. Mark, I love you too.
All right.
The agape, isn't it like fatherly love?
Well, it's agape love is the purest form of love. It's love for man. It's love for mankind, love for your brother, love for your brothers and sisters. It's a love that transcends all other loves. It's not a sexual love. It's a love of, that's why I said that when I'm not ashamed to say it, when Christ said, love as I've loved, feed my sheep. He didn't tell us to, he didn't say judge anybody. He said, don't sin or don't do what, is in the Bible. And I'm not going to get into that. But when he came down and said, love each other, my gosh, that's all he told us to do. There wasn't anything beyond that. God bless the world.
And that all got sparked because of the word bear.
That's right. Cocaine. Now, cocaine. What if I was Cocaine Bear? That would be kind of strange. That was an interesting movie. If you saw Cocaine Bear, I actually enjoyed it. Yeah.
So for one, I was going to ask this. So, but people who don't get to see our little screens or everything like that, we all have our own names on here. Like I changed mine to Donald Biden.
I saw
that. The chips is
I have to say it.
Margheriti.
Spaghetti.
Do it.
Spaghetti Margheriti di Coco.
So do people call you De Coco, or like where did that come from?
It's funny that throughout the years I actually write some articles and stuff that I don't tell you guys about, and I've always used different pen names, and Flatsheg was one. I had Bucknock Win, Nguyen. I've used many others, and what is it? Calaveros, Carlitos Calaveros. This was one. And Spaghetti Margheriti di Coco was another. So just Spaghetti Margheriti di Coco is the person I am using. It's cool.
So for the longest time, I was called Coco. So at the dealerships that I worked for, they called me Coco, and which was short for the worst one, which was Cocoa Bubbles. So yes, and over the intercom system, because in like car dealerships, whenever they want you to come to the office, if you're working numbers or whatever, they'll say, Eric to the sales office, or Eric to the whatever office, or finance office. They would legit just open up the little speaker thing, give it a second so people understood that they were about to talk, and they would just go, Coco to the sales office. Go to the sales office. And every single time, I'm telling you, I'd be working a deal and I would have, they wouldn't even need me. They would just be like, oh, you're with a customer? Okay, cool. Coco to the sales office. So that I would have to explain Coco to the people I was working with, because they're looking at me. I am this Caucasian gentleman.
Caucasian?
That's my son. And they're wondering why the heck I'm being called Coco. they're thinking, were you a stripper? What, how do you, as your Caucasian self, become Coco?
Yes.
The fact that you just said I wasn't even thinking stripper till you said that, and after I've just thrown up a little bit in my mouth, for here on out you'll be known as Coco.
See, and the thing is, the story behind it isn't even cool. The story behind it was legit. So one of my friends, Joey Laura, he's the one that always did the PA system, Coco, to the sales office, and we were talking about cell phone video games. You know how Clash of Clans is a thing that exists.
I'm level 203, just so you know. Clash of Clans.
Yes. So whenever that game first came out, it was only available on iPhones. So
right.
it was only on Apple product. And I had an Android, but I wanted to play the game. But everybody that I worked with had an iPhone, so they all were playing this game. The only thing that I could download was Clash of Titans, which was like Android's off-brand version of Clash of Clans.
It was like a cheese food burger from the drugstore that wasn't really a cheeseburger.
So that's how Cocoa Bubble exists, because I was talking to, at this point, Joey was a co-salesperson. We were both just salespeople. And I'm explaining to him and the other group, hey, this is the thing in my game's kind of like that, only it's like this and it's a little bit different. And he just stops me and goes, Eric, I just want you to think about this. You're growing up, you're a kid, you have a friend come over, spend the night, y'all get up in the morning and get a bowl of cereal. You got Cocoa Puffs, and you got Cocoa Puffs, you're pouring a bowl, and y'all start eating your cereal, and he tells you, man, I've been eating Cocoa Bubbles, and it's so similar to this. And you know for a fact that those Cocoa Bubbles don't have nothing on Cocoa Puffs, because Cocoa Puffs are the superior cereal. But he's trying to tell you Cocoa Bubbles are the same thing when you know they're not. It's the off-brand. And that's how I got the nickname Cocoa Bubbles.
All right. I think that'll do it.
More importantly, how many of us are playing Clash of Clans?
Oh, me.
You?
Yep.
What's your level?
I don't know, like a lot. I haven't played it in like 6 months, which doesn't matter because you've been playing it for 10 years.
I've been playing it since 2013. I'm level 202. I probably took a year off at one time, and I have never spent $1 on the game.
Oh yeah, I play it every once in a while, and I'll get another phone, and I won't even add it to the phone, and then like 6 months down the road, I'll go ahead and add it, and I'll play it like a maniac for like 3 months, and then I'll put it away, and then I'll play it again the next year for like 3 months.
VMAX, how much money have you spent on this damn game? Good gosh.
Not that much. Every once in a while, I'll buy a month pass or something like that. But I have not spent, really.
Are you in a clan?
So,
I am.
The manager of the dealership that I worked for at that time, the general sales manager, he plays it, and he has spent like $7,000.
Ooh,
wow!
No joke. Everything that he has is completely the most max level thing that you can possibly get for the whole entire game, because he'll just go and he'll just spend, $500, $600, $700 and just max everything out again for the next one. And it got to a point to where we had to, on our phones, we had to turn the intro music off, because if he heard the da-da-da-da or whatever it is, whenever you do the intro thing, if he heard it across the dealership, he would almost throw a chair through a window. Like it was ridiculous. Because he's like, "You're not here to play the video games," and then we'd go back there our sales office were behind their office, and there was windows going into their office, and he's just sitting there playing the game. But anyways,
I've got to figure out where VMAX is so I can set him up on social anyway, so I can find him. Let's see, what is your name? Maybe you don't want to say it online. I don't know. You could send it to me.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you in the
just send it to me later. It's fine. That way we can buddy up. Yeah, I'm in a really good clan. We're a farming clan, a clan that does battle very often as well. Very friendly clan, and very giving clan when it comes to troops and stuff. Even though I give, I don't ever really take anything. But
everybody in my clan's knife maker.
Are you serious?
Is that true?
No? Are you serious? Oh, wow!
I'm just kidding. Wow. I'm trying to bring it back. I'm trying to bring it full circle to actually talking about knives on a knife podcast.
The king uses knives.
To be fair, there's probably a lot of people who make knives who actually play this game. It's so ridiculous. The amount of random people, who would have thought Chip Carlisle, of all people, the masturbator himself, would be playing a cell phone game
since 2013. We were at Panama City with my sons for a week's vacation, my wife and I and all. And we were upstairs watching World Cup soccer. My wife was pissed because nobody wanted to go on the beach, even though we could see the beach, but we were inside watching World Cup. And my sons wanted to play this game, Clash of Clans, and they wanted some money. So I gave them both $10 to go on, and I signed up and started playing too, so I could see what it was about. Neither one of them play it anymore. And I'm 11 years later, I'm still like
a downhill from there.
Yeah. That's the only game I play. It's the only game I play though. Only game.
Yeah. The knife makers do a bunch of random stuff, but we're humans too. And if we were going to bring it back around to knife making, we can
talk about other things.
The takeaway for me from this episode was, again, talking about the vendors and different things like that. It's one of those things where knife making podcasts, sometimes they talk about knives, sometimes they talk about random stuff. I mean, I've listened to a lot of different knife making podcasts, and I've listened to some of them just banter for legit like an hour about just random stuff that they were doing that week. So it is what it is.
I'm looking at the expression on Josh's face and just reading his mind. I'm thinking, how do I tell these guys that I've been playing Barbie dress up on my phone for 12 years and see if they do it too? Sorry, Josh, we don't play Barbie.
I'm just trying to figure out that, like, I'm wrapping my brain around that people actually played this game.
Do not download it.
You know what?
Don't download it, because if you download it, oh my gosh.
Yeah, like
you
Eric
will
said,
be like, why are people playing this game? And then a year down the road, when you're competitive with other people, you're going to be like, oh, that's.
And I don't.
The only thing I use my phone, like the closest thing to a game I play on my phone is like Duolingo
and OnlyFans. So knife maker OnlyFans. But I will tell you that I only play a couple rounds a day. Sometimes I'll do more than that, but very rarely a couple fights a day, and then I do my 5 battles on the weekend to go up into the cloud thing. But most of it, it's just a little break just to walk away for a couple minutes and boom, 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 and you're doing that. What are you showing us here, Josh?
I'm showing you that I'm on the top of the leaderboard for Duolingo right now in my little league.
Duolingo, isn't that where you're learning another language?
Yeah.
Learning another language?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, wow, that seems like a way more useful game than what we're playing.
That's right. It's like it's as close to a game as you can get. Like, you actually like learn stuff. Like they give you like little quizzes, and like they'll come up and like they'll say words. You have to either write down what they said or like translate it.
That's why he was able. That's why he was able to cuss us out in Chinese tonight. My wife's doing Spanish and has been for a while on Duolingo, but now we know where your Chinese is.
It's fun.
Hey guys, just want to say questions, comments, product reviews, show and guest ideas, we want you to subscribe to us and email us at theknivestemplars@yahoo.com. You can DM us on Facebook at the Knives Templars podcast group. Let us know if you're playing, what is that show again? Or what is that game again? Just hard to find. This episode is brought to you by, what is it? What's the game we're playing? I already forgot.
Clash of Clans.
This episode is brought to you by Clash of Clans. But let us know what your level is. DM us. You can visit us at theknivestemplars.com to stay up to date with all that we do. This episode is sponsored by the Rivers Experience. Redeem steel casting crafts and Marabraid and Templars 20 for parts and accessories on your first purchase. Majestic Forge Pops Knife Supplies, Maritime Knife Supply, Housemade.us, Phoenix Abrasives. They give you Templars 10. You put it in there, you get 10% off. And Broadbeck Ironworks for their Templars 10 discount on their parts and accessories. You can hear us on iHeartRadio. You can hear us on Spotify. You can hear us on Apple Podcast. You can hear us on YouTube, Music, Anchor, Amazon, YouTube Video, and CastBox. List of resources, suggested materials, and social media handles. See us at Knives Templars Podcast on Facebook and knivestemplars.com. Again, contact us at knivestemplars@yahoo.com. And with that, we say oinky, 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 and the guys say,
hey, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Brought to you by Porkhouse Productions. Oinky, oinky, oinky. Oinky, oinky, oinky.
Oinky. I don't know if we got here.
All right.
Oinky, oinky. I don't know if she said oinky, oinky or not. I heard one oinky. I only heard one. I only heard one oink.
Someone else or something?
Yes. Eric's got his beautiful daughter sitting with him there tonight. He's had his son sitting with him as well. He didn't have his oldest son sitting with him because they would have collapsed in the chair. He's 6.5 feet tall. So.
Oh my.
So how your daughter's name is?
Arlen.
Queen Arlen. Queen Arlen.
Rivers.
Arlen Kate Rivers. Is that from Arlen? From
Kate's
Arlen?
my middle.
Yes.
Kate's my last name.
Middle name.
Yeah.
And like not middle.
And are you
and
named?
Rivers is my last name. Rivers
Yeah.
is my last name.
Are you named after?
Arlen K or Arlen?
Are you named after Arlen, Texas?
No.
What do I call you?
Arlen.
Orlana Katana.
Alana Katana.
Ah, well, what?
That's a good one.
What wonderful show features the characters from that part of Texas, Arlen? Y'all don't have to watch. Y'all don't have to watch King of the Hill over there in Texas. I mean, I thought that was kind of like you have to.
No, they don't watch King of the Hill. They watch all the random stuff that you see on like YouTube and Netflix and all that.
Does your dad only cook on propane and propane accessories, Arlen?
Do I cook on the grill?
Yeah.
Is it a gas grill, Arlen? Is it a gas grill, Arlen?
Yeah.
He uses a gas grill.
I did carne asada tacos. Last night? Where marinated it in orange juice, lime juice.
Yesterday you did steak.
No, that was the day before.
Oh.
Well, you realize
it looks like a big steak.
Yes,
but yeah, there's a citrus marinade's really good. If you haven't marinated it something,
it's my favorite.
It is your favorite. She eats a lot of steak. If I cook steak, she eats steak.
So she's her daddy's daughter. So you realize that propane is for forging. Coal, she's fine. Coal is for cooking. Propane is for forging.
Yes, coal is for cooking. Well, technically, I use both because I have.
Gotcha.
I've got a coal grill. I've got a griddle, the Blackstone 4-burner griddle, and then I've got a propane grill. And I've got way too many things to cook. I got a slow cooker. I got way too many things to cook with.
That's good. Arlen, do you have a podcast, or would you like to have a podcast someday?
Or a smoker?
My dad lets me do his podcast with me, so I do have a podcast.
Do you
she's
ever
she's on the live streams every once
do
in a
you
while
ever,
with me.
you watch him on YouTube? You watch him on YouTube?
Yeah, kind of.
Would you say?
Kind of. When
Would
my
you?
mom
Go ahead.
kind of. So when my mom turns on a video, I hear my dad's voice and I think it's him, but that's just a video. Then I come in and watch it. I come in and watch it.
Do you think he's the most handsomest guy on YouTube on the TV?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. He's a very special guy. You know, I've known your dad for a few years now, and I've spent a couple weeks with him, a couple weekends with him, and I think you got one of the best daddies in the world. You're a very lucky young lady. So, has he made you a knife? Has he made you a knife?
Not yet.
Not yet. Do you wait till you're a little older?
Mm-hmm. She's only 5 right now, so.
Are you really? Are you really 5? That is. You look.
The halves are.
You are so grown up, though. I'm really impressed.
I'm 5.5, not 5. I'm 5.5.
That's right. I'm 59 and a half. I am.
Get it
I'm
right.
actually 59 and a half. So good for you.
My dad's birthday was like not far ago.
She goes into kindergarten this coming up year.
Pre-K.
Excellent.
I'm going pre-K.
Well, no, you're going to go straight into kindergarten, and you're not even prepared for her because she can already do math and write and all kinds of stuff. Like it's going to be funny.
Arlen, can you do one thing for us? Can you say good night from the Knives Templars?
Good night.
From the Knives Templars.
From the Knife Templars.
You're a sweetheart. Good night. Good night, guys.
Good night from the Knife Templars.
All right.
Sometimes at night I think of the past. Both of us knew it was too good to last. But I still remember the good times we had, the best and the worst, the good and the bad. Sometimes at night I remember your face. That's one thing that time can never erase. Your image still haunts me, it still lives in my dreams. You'll always be with me, so it seems, so it seems. Tonight I'm wondering where you might be. What part of this big world did you go off to see? What mountain or valley do you sleep in tonight? Is there rain in your life, or is your star shining bright? Sometimes at night I think of your eyes. Sometimes they're sad, sometimes they're wise. Those eyes should have told me you were destined to leave. I guess I just didn't want to believe. Tonight I'm wondering where you might be. What part of this big world did you go off to see? What mountain or valley do you sleep in tonight? Is there rain in your life, or is your star shining bright? Last night I dreamed that I slept in your arms, in a house, in a room, in a bed that was warm. I woke up in my Chevy by the side of the road. It was cold, you weren't there. I cried, and it snowed. Tonight I'm wondering where you might be. What part of this big world did you go off to see? What mountain or valley do you sleep in tonight? Is there rain in your life, or is your star shining bright? Is there rain in your life, or is your star